Bill Coleman spent a lot of time this week visiting the bank. You remember he volunteered to do that at the end of our last lesson when we discussed what is money, the work of bank. Now, Bill, will you tell us what really goes on in a bank? Got your notes?
Well, I didn't take any notes, sir. I think I've just about got it all in my head.
Good. Go for your life.
Right. I went to the local branch of the bank and saw the manager. Mr. Nelson, I'm doing a school social studies project, banking. I was wondering, sir, if you could tell me what really goes on in a bank.
Well, that's a pretty tall order to ask a busy man. Just sit down. I'll do my best to help you.
Do you know anything at all about banking? Well, we learnt at school that though banks do many things, they have two main jobs. One is looking after people's money, the other is lending money.
You're quite right, Bill. Those are the two essentials of banking. Receiving deposits and granting advances. But do you know what you mean by money?
What our teacher told us surprised me rather. I'd always thought of money as, you know, cash. The coins I paid for my milkshake. The notes and coins Mum paid to the tradesmen. But our teacher told us that much more important was the money in bank accounts, which customers paid to each other by cheque. He said that businesses make nearly all payments by cheque.
That must be a pretty good school you go to, Bill. You got that lesson off pat. And now you want to know how this business of receiving deposits and granting advances, mostly through the cheque system, works in practice.
Yes, please, sir.
Well, as you know, banking hours are from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. That doesn't mean we only work those hours. Actually, we start at 9. When the strong room is open and the ledgers and other account books are taken out, the cash safe is open so that the teller can get his cash out. Now the work of the branch can begin. Back in my office, I open the sealed mail. My next routine job is to check the posting of the ledgers in which customers' accounts are kept. This checking also enables me to watch the position of the various accounts.
Mr. Nelson, you must know more about other people's business than anyone else around here.
That's why all bank officers sign a declaration of secrecy when they enter the bank service.
Yes, I can understand that, Mr. Nelson. But isn't banking awfully dull?
Dull, Bill?
Yes. All the bookkeeping and recording.
It's not dull if you have imagination. Banking is largely a matter of personal relationships. As a matter of fact, once our doors are open to the public, my day is mostly taken up with interviewing people. Yesterday, for instance, a customer introduced his son, that he could open his own bank account. The boy has just recently started to earn his living. His father thinks that although the boy is not 21, the sooner he learns to handle his own money, the better. My next callers were two sisters who wanted the bank to lend them money towards buying a house which they could run as a nursing home. As their option to purchase the property was short, I went with them straight away. It was part of my duty to inspect the property and to value it. A mortgage over the property will be the bank's security for lending the money. So, I had to satisfy myself that the place was all right. Back at the branch, I found a family with personal problems.
If only we had the cash, this would be a real break. Our own business.
And our own home. You've no idea how difficult it is. 4 of us in the one room.
Yes. If you had a little grocery business, you could live in the house behind the shop. How much do you need?
Much more than I've got. My uncle would guarantee me up to a point, but
I know he's a man of standing. Now, suppose you leave the figures of this business with me.
excuse me, Mr. Nelson, but what does security mean?
Well, because the bank must protect its depositors, it often asks borrowers to lodge something of value with the bank until they have repaid the money borrowed. Now, whatever the borrower transfers to the bank in this way is called the bank's security. Understand?
Yes, thank you, sir. And what happened next?
Well, time was getting on, and I had a luncheon appointment with the president and secretary of the local branch of the Red Cross.
How did we finish the year, Mr. Nelson?
Well, I'm glad to say our financial position is much stronger. Yes, quite a satisfactory year.
Well, we've been very fortunate to have you as treasurer. I hope you'll stand for office again.
Is that part of your work at the bank, Mr. Nelson?
Well, not strictly speaking, but when a man's a bank manager, people respect him because of his position. and his help is often sought by voluntary social organizations.
Same as your secretary of our Parents and Citizens Association.
Yes. Well, now, after lunch, I had several more interviews. First, there was the manufacturer, who wanted money to buy materials and pay wages before undertaking fresh contracts. He could not wait for the proceeds of the sale of the articles he had already made. Then there was a lady who wanted help because her son had missed his ship. He was stranded in England. She was delighted to learn that she could telegraph money to him through the bank. After her came two customers who are going overseas. I had arranged for the bank's travel department to book their passengers and make hotel reservations. I also supplied them with a circular letter of credit and traveler's checks. These will save them the risk of carrying too much money in cash. Finally, an exporter came in to inquire about markets overseas for some local products. I was able to arrange for him to see our commercial relations officer, who will put him in touch with foreign buyers through banks in other countries which act as our agents. That's most of my day, Bill, except for locking up the strong room again. Now we'll see what some of my staff are doing. Come along. First we'll see what the junior does. John, I want you to meet Bill Coleman. He's at school and has come to find out all about banking for his class. I'll leave you two together for a while.
Gosh, he's an amazing man. He knows something about everything.
Well, after all, he is the manager. I'll show you what I do.
The junior told me that one of his jobs was to stamp and record the outgoing mail. He said he enjoyed his work because he has to lend a hand all around the office. This helps him to get to know banking terms and practices, and an adding machine makes work easier. Why can't we have adding machines at school? The junior told me that every day any checks received which are drawn on other banks with local branches are exchanged for checks on Mr. Nelson's bank, and one of the junior's jobs is to do this. Mr. Nelson then took me to see how the ledger keeper records the deposits paid into each account and the checks drawn by customers, working the balances as he goes. If the customer has an overdraft, the ledger keeper also calculates the interest due. Mr. Nelson then explained that
in large branches, instead of hand ledgers, there are machine ledgers, which are operated by specially trained girls. Beside each ledger machine, there is a stapler machine. With these, the same entries are made in the customer's pass sheets, which are the customer's own record of their accounts. Now, Bill, I'd like you to get the customer smart on banking. This is the teller, the man who has most contact with the public. He happens to be relieving my regular man, who's away on holiday. So he passes the check to the ledger keeper to verify the signature.
Oh, by the way, do you play tennis?
yes, I do.
Would you like to have a game next Saturday?
Why, thank you very much.
All right, then. I'll see you down the club.
Thank you.
Good morning. Bye-bye.
You see, a bank officer is usually welcome everywhere, especially in country towns. Now, some of these checks he is taking are probably drawn on banks in the city or in other towns. These are sent daily to the bank's clearinghouse in the nearest capital city. There, young men and women from each bank meet twice daily and exchange checks drawn on other banks for checks drawn on their own banks. At the main capital city office, checks on suburban branches must be sorted and pouched for distribution. Checks drawn on country branches are also sorted so they can be sent to those branches by post. Checks on metropolitan branches are delivered by special messenger. But cash is needed for small payments, out-of-pocket expenses, and of course wages. Armored cars with armed crews keep branches supplied with cash. So at the main capital city branch, a cashier's department sorts and counts notes and coin continuously. Special machines sort coin into bags. And there are other machines that count coins. They even throw out counterfeit coin. Machines wrap coin in paper rolls. Well, Bill, so much for the mechanical side of banking. Now I think I'd better introduce you to the security clerk. His job is to safeguard and record the securities held by the branch, such as these typical security documents, mortgage form, title deed, fire insurance policy, and looks after the valuables left by customers in the safekeeping of the bank. Now let's watch the bill clerk. Carry on.
Good morning. I've come to pick up the shipping documents for the machinery on the SS Seaworthy. What's the amount of the draft?
$2,000 straight, Mr. Smith. Just a minute, I'll convert it. £897, 15 shillings and 4p.
You see, though, this is the bit of lading which is necessary to obtain the goods off the ship. And this is the insurance policy covering risk or loss or damage at sea. And this is a draft drawn by the exporter overseas on Mr. Smith here for the goods and freight and insurance. He pays this, we give him the documents, and he gets the goods.
Finally, I learnt about the work of the accountant, who is the manager's right-hand man. He watches all the work of the office and sees that it is done efficiently. That evening, I was telling Dad all about what I'd seen and learnt.
That's all very interesting, Bill. But there's one thing you've forgotten. Won't they want to know at school something about pay and prospect?
Of course they will. And I'm particularly interested in that.
Really, Bill? Are you thinking of going in for banking?
Well, I thought it mightn't be a bad idea.
It's a big decision to make, Bill. And we've got to know a good deal more about it. I'd better ring Mr. Nelson and get some more information.
No. I don't mind you ringing me at night, Mr. Coleman. Yes, I've seen quite a lot of him lately. He seems interested. Oh? I never realized he was thinking of banking as his own career. I thought it was just a school project. Look, as you work in the city, why not call on the staff inspector at head office?
Before I encourage him, I want to know, naturally, what pay and prospects are.
Of course. Well now, as staff inspector, I'm in charge of all personnel. That means more than 6,500. You'll be interested to know that we have over 800 branches and agencies in Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and 2 branches in London.
For all our officers, we keep continuous progress reports where every position to which an officer is appointed and his performances in each job are recorded. Thank you. These records enable us to assess the suitability of an officer for any position that becomes vacant.
The staff inspector said that every senior executive in the bank had risen through the service, having started as a junior. A boy who had gained his leaving and joined the bank at 17 would get nearly £6 a week to start. And what's more, he's getting it while he's being trained in a profession. Would you pass that pamphlet over, please, Bill? Thank you. Oh, and you get regular annual rises until you're getting over £16 a week at the age of 33. And that's the minimum rate. Higher salaries are paid to officers who display special promise and ability. There are many positions, such as branch accountant, teller, security clerk, bill clerk, foreign exchange officer, departmental head, audit officer and others, which usually carry salaries in excess of scale rates. Oh, and something else. The staff inspector told me that special bonuses are granted to officers who do work of special merit. And sometimes, when conditions permit, the bank pays a general bonus on all salaries.
It all sounds pretty good to me.
It is, Bill. There are other things. You know Mr. Nelson's house bill. The bank provides that too. Every branch manager is granted either a residence free of rent or a house allowance. If you're ill, you get liberal sick leave on full pay. And further, there's a non-contributory medical benefit scheme. And when you retire...
Oh, break it down, Dad. I haven't even started yet.
That's all right, Bill, but it pays to look ahead. A boy joining the bank at 17, even if he didn't progress beyond the minimum, would still get a pension of over £650 a year at 60. I know you'd do much better, Bill.
I jolly well try, anyway. There are plenty of opportunities for play, too. The Bank Entertainment Society publishes a monthly magazine which keeps everyone in touch, wherever they may be. The Entertainment Society runs all sorts of activities in Sydney. For instance, there's a horticultural group. A ballet group works in with a dramatic group which presents musical comedies, which everyone seems to enjoy. If you like to talk, there is a speaking and debating group. For indoor games enthusiasts, there's a table tennis group, a chess club. The Entertainment Society seems to do a lot to bring bank officers together. Parties like this one help you to get to know other people in the bank, whatever your job or age. Then, if you are fond of outdoor exercises, there are various clubs such as football, hockey, swimming. The bank likes new recruits who are good at some form of sport. Dad certainly seemed happy when he came home last night. He talked a lot about opportunity, promotion and security. But what I like most is the chance of seeing new places. If you show any promise, you're likely to get experience in the country. In the city, in industrial areas, and in suburban branches. And you're not necessarily tied to one state. Men are sent interstate. Or even overseas, to New Zealand, Fiji or London.
Right, Bill, you've had your time. I think you've told us a grand story. Easy to see you're so long, Bank.
Yes, sir.
Well now, let's sum up. Alert and well-spoken with wide interests. Reliable. A good school record, preferably good at sports. Showing initiative and readiness to accept responsibility. Now, let's check over the main advantages of a banking career. Security. High salaries. Every junior a potential executive. It is a professional career. Bonuses. 3 weeks holiday. Liberal sick leave on full pay. Medical benefits pension scheme. And there is the opportunity to play an important part in the economic life and welfare of the country. And your main point, Bill, is that banking is no mere dry-as-dust matter of recording figures. It is primarily a matter of personal relationships, of helping people.